The walk. Once there was a wise and strong pharaoh. The country he ruled was peaceful, the crops were thriving, and the people were happy. But the pharaoh was not happy. He was lonely. One afternoon, the pharaoh paced slowly through the palace. The pharaoh decided to go for a walk. Just outside the palace, he asked a woman and her daughter if they would like to go for a walk with him. They said yes.
Hello, Pharaoh.
Would you like to go for a walk?
Yes, we'd like that very much.
They walked to the village. The pharaoh called out to some of the people they passed, and he stopped to speak with others. He began to feel less lonely. More and more of the people in the village joined the pharaoh on his walk. It was like a parade.
Hey, look down there.
They paraded all the way to the Nile River. They stopped at the dock and spent the afternoon laughing, talking, and enjoying each other's company. The pharaoh realized that he didn't feel lonely anymore. That night the pharaoh slept well. He knew that the next time he felt lonely, he could take a walk with his friends.
Have you ever wanted to travel through time? Write a story about traveling back to ancient Egypt and telling a small group of people about your life.
What if you worked in the pharaoh's kitchen and broke a special pot by mistake? How would you avoid getting into trouble?
Can you imagine what it would be like to be an archaeologist who found a tomb that had been left alone for 4,000 years? How would you feel? What would you say? Don't tell me. Write it down.
Most ancient Egyptians never got to see the inside of a pharaoh's tomb, but you can. Write a story about the time you and your friends traveled to Egypt and discovered the secret opening to a long-lost tomb.
Imagine that your job is to guard the pharaoh's tomb from grave robbers. One night, someone tries to rob the tomb while you're on duty. What do?
I like stories about people who solve problems in clever ways. Write a story about how an ancient Egyptian saved the day when he or she used papyrus in an unusual way. What if you traveled to ancient Egypt? What would people think of your clothes? Do you have a pet? Ancient Egyptians had pets too. They had dogs, cats, monkeys, and other animals. Pretend you're an Egyptian kid and write a story about all the adventures you and your pet have together.
Hey, how long is your arm? Ancient Egyptians used to measure the length of something by comparing it to the length of their arm. Imagine you and your arm get chosen to be the official measuring arm for the kingdom and get to travel with the pharaoh whenever he needs something measured. Write a story about all the adventures you'd have.
Pretend you're a kid in ancient Egypt. Write a story about the day you saved the village from some stampeding cattle.
I love adventure stories. What kind of adventure could you have exploring an ancient tomb?
Did you know that people in ancient Egypt used pictures called hieroglyphs to write things down? Look in the fact book for more information, and then make up your own secret code for telling a story.
Do you have a pen pal? I bet you could find one in ancient Egypt who would tell you all about her life if only you would ask. There's only one catch. She only knows how to write with hieroglyphs, but I bet you could figure out a way to communicate.
Do you like to watch birds? Write a story about a boy who liked to sit by the Nile and watch birds. One day he lost track of time, and you tell the story.
Try writing a message to a friend using hieroglyphs. Look in the fact book to see how to match hieroglyphs to our alphabet. Or you could make up your own code.
Write about what happened on the day the pharaoh's pet baboon escaped into the village.
Imagine that you and your best friend traveled back in time to ancient Egypt. None of the Egyptians can see or hear you. What do you and your friend do?
Write a story about the time you took a boat trip with your family to go visit your uncle's farm. Did you ever wonder where donkeys go to nap? I bet the Sphinx would be a good place to look.
The pyramids are mysterious. Why were they built? How were they built? Write a story about building a pyramid. Use the fact book for information.
Do you like to climb trees, build forts, or discover secret hiding places? Imagine if you lived in ancient Egypt and write a story about the secret hiding place you and your friends discovered. Imagine if one night, while the pharaoh's pyramid was being built, you and your friends had a picnic on top of the pyramid. What was it like? Do you like adventure games? I bet an adventure game like hide and seek or capture the flag would be really cool if you played it in ancient Egypt.
Write about the time you and your friends snuck into a tomb and the mummy case opened up and...
I like rhymes. Here's one for you. There was once an Egyptian who made bread and then carried it around on his head. When he got to the Nile, he put the bread on a pile of things headed for the tomb of the dead. I bet if you look in the fact book, you can find lots of interesting ideas for making up your own rhymes.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to live in ancient Egypt? Write a story about a typical day in your life as an Egyptian. Look in the fact book for some ideas.
Did you know that in ancient Egypt, people spent part of every year helping build pyramids? Imagine you lived back then and write a story about the time you and your mom decided to go visit your dad at the pyramid building site.
Remember when you went to Egypt with your family? You tripped over an untied shoelace, bent down to tie it, and saw something in the sand. It turned out to be Will you tell the story?
Imagine that you're an archaeologist searching the ancient ruins of a pyramid. You find a small statue. What is it? Who made it? What will you do with it now?
Pyramids around the world. Pyramids have been built all over the world. The Egyptians built the first pyramids 4,500 years ago as tombs for their rulers. Hundreds of years later, the Nubians, who lived south of Egypt, built smaller pyramids. The Nubian pyramids were also used as burial places. 2,000 years later, on the other side of the world, pyramids were built to be used as temples. In North America, the Mayans built pyramids with staircases leading to a flat top. In Central America, the Aztecs built pyramids with 2 shrines at the top. Priests performed sacrifices at the tops of the Mayan and Aztec pyramids to gain the favor of the gods. The pyramids at Giza. The most famous pyramids in the world are the 3 pyramids at Giza, near the Nile River in Egypt. These pyramids are huge and ancient. Because they were built thousands of years ago, many people find them mysterious. The Great Pyramid was built as a tomb for a pharaoh, or Egyptian king, named Khufu. It was built 4,500 years ago in 2,550 BC. The Great Pyramid is probably the largest pyramid ever constructed. It is the largest pyramid still standing today. The second pyramid at Giza is slightly smaller. It was built for Khufu's son, the pharaoh Khafre. The third pyramid, constructed for the pharaoh Menkaure, is only half as tall as the Great Pyramid. Where is Giza? Egypt is in the northeastern part of Africa, just west of Asia and south of Europe. The Nile River flows through Egypt from south to north. Land near the Nile River is good for farming. Farther away from the Nile, the land is desert. Almost everyone in ancient Egypt lived near the Nile. Giza is on the west side of the Nile, in the north of Egypt. For the ancient Egyptians, building the pyramids near the river was easier than building them farther away. Instead of dragging stones for long distances, the Egyptians loaded them on boats. The boats carried the heavy load to the pyramid site. When were the Giza pyramids built? The pyramids at Giza were built about 4,500 years ago. They were built as tombs for pharaohs, Egyptian kings. At that time, pharaohs had been ruling Egypt for 500 years. After the pyramids at Giza were built, pharaohs ruled Egypt for 2,500 years more. This fact book focuses on Egypt as it was at the time that the pyramids were built at Giza. At that time, Egypt did not have much contact with other countries. Most Egyptians were farmers. Others worked in the government or as craftsmen. Later on, Egyptians went to war more often and did more trading with other countries. History of pyramids in Egypt. Pharaohs first ruled Egypt 5,000 years ago. When pharaohs died, they were buried in mastaba tombs. A mastaba is a small building with a burial room underneath it. Then, 4,650 years ago, the pharaoh Djoser had a pyramid built. Designed by the architect Imhotep, it was probably the first monumental stone construction in the world. It is a step pyramid. Each side is like a large staircase. Other pharaohs built step pyramids too. Less than 100 years after Djoser's step pyramid was constructed, a bent pyramid was built. The bent pyramid has steep sides and a gently sloped top. Only one bent pyramid was made before pharaohs began to build pyramids with straight sides.
Write a story about the time you took a boat trip with your family to go visit your uncle's farm.
I like rhymes. Here's one for you. There was once an Egyptian who made bread and then carried it around on his head. When he got to the Nile, he put the bread on a pile of things headed for the tomb of the dead. I bet if you look in the fact book, you can find lots of interesting ideas for making up your own rhymes.